Dae-sung yawned as he guided his cargo ship through the empty space between Earth and Luna. The ship was old and slow, carrying mining equipment to the lunar stations. It was boring work, but it paid well. He had been doing this route for 7 years now, and nothing exciting ever happened. He sipped his coffee and looked at the stars. The radio played quiet music. Everything was normal. Then his screen lit up with emergency signals. Hundreds of them. All at once. What the hell? Dae-sung sat up straight and checked his systems. The signals were coming from Earth Defense Command. This was not a drill. A voice came through the radio. It was calm, but serious. All civilian vessels. This is Earth Defense Command. We have an unidentified fleet entering our solar system. Return to Earth immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Dae-sung's hands moved quickly over the controls. His heart was beating fast now. An unidentified fleet? How big? Where did they come from? He turned his ship around and started heading back to Earth. Around him, he could see other ships doing the same thing. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, private yachts. Everyone was going home. On Earth Defense Station Olympus, Commander Heejin watched the screens with cold eyes. She had been expecting something like this for weeks. The deep space sensors had picked up strange readings 3 weeks ago. Ships moving through space in a way that seemed purposeful. Heading toward Earth, she had quietly prepared. No public announcements. No panic. Just careful, silent preparation. Now those ships were here. 47 massive warships, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. They sat at the edge of Earth's orbital space, waiting. Heejin's second officer looked nervous. Commander, they're trying to communicate. Put them through, Heejin said. Her voice was steady. The screen changed. An alien appeared. It looked like a combination of an insect and a fish, with multiple eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. It wore some kind of military uniform. Humans of Earth, the alien said. Its voice was translated by computers into something Heejin could understand. I am Fleet Admiral Krevnar of the Vethrian Collective. We have come to bring you into our empire. You have 24 hours to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy your orbital stations and bombard your planet. This is how we have conquered 47 star systems. Do not think you are special. Surrender or die. The screen went black. Heijin's second officer looked pale. Commander, what do we do? Heijin smiled slightly. We thank them for the warning and ask them to wait. She turned to her communications officer. Send a message. Tell them we have received their ultimatum and we will respond within the time limit. Be polite. Polite? The officer looked confused. Yes, polite. We're not barbarians. The officer sent the message. On the Vethrian flagship, Krevnar received it. He was confused. Usually, species either attacked immediately or begged for mercy. Humans did neither. They just said, "Thank you for waiting." Strange. Back on Dae-sung's cargo ship, the emergency orders were getting more specific. All civilian vessels, proceed to designated safe zones. Military vessels, report to your stations. All Earth defense personnel, report immediately. Dae-sung noticed something odd. The stars seemed to shimmer in certain places, like heat waves in the desert. But in space, he had never seen that before. As he got closer to Earth, he understood what he was seeing. Things were appearing. Huge things. Defense platforms that had been hidden somehow were suddenly visible. They had been there all along. Invisible. Waiting. Dae-sung whistled softly. So that's what the tax money went to. There were dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. They surrounded Earth like a metal shell. Each one bristled with weapons. They had been hidden in plain sight, using technology that bent light around them. On the Vethrian flagship, alarms started ringing. Sensors were picking up massive energy signatures. Hundreds of them. Where did they come from? Krevnar stared at the screens. His confidence began to crack. Unknown, Admiral, his sensor officer said. They just appeared. Things don't just appear. Krevnar growled. They were hidden. How long have they been watching us? No one had an answer. A message came from Earth. It was from Commander He-Jin. Her face appeared on the screen. Calm and professional. Admiral Krevnar, thank you for your patience. We wanted you to know that we have been tracking your fleet since you entered our solar system. That was 3 weeks ago. By our count, we have observed your ships, analyzed your weapons, and studied your tactics. We know what you're capable of. Krevnar's multiple eyes widened. 3 weeks? They had known for 3 weeks and said nothing? He-Jin continued. We are now showing you what we are capable of. These defense platforms have been in position for 30 years. We built them after the War of 2156, when we nearly destroyed ourselves. We decided that we would never let anyone destroy us again. Not outsiders, and not ourselves. She paused, then added, We have not fired a single weapon. We will not fire first. But we want you to understand that if you attack, we will defend ourselves. We have had 24 hours to prepare. Actually, we've had 3 weeks. But who's counting? The screen went dark. Krevnar sat in his command chair, thinking. This was not how conquests usually went. Usually, the primitive species panicked. They fought back with weak weapons, or they surrendered immediately. Humans did neither. They had been calm. They had been watching. Admiral, his tactical officer said quietly, I'm reading energy signatures consistent with fusion warheads. Thousands of them. And those platforms, sir. Some of them are bigger than our dreadnoughts. Krevnar said nothing. He was thinking about the 47 systems the Vethrians had conquered. In every case, they had surprised the target species, shown up with overwhelming force, demanded surrender. It always worked. But humans had not been surprised. They had known, and they had not panicked. Daesung reached the safe zone near Mars. Thousands of other civilian ships were there too. Everyone was watching the news feeds. People were scared, but they were not panicking. The government had been clear. Stay calm. Stay safe. Let the military handle it. Daesung trusted the military. He had served in Earth defense for 10 years before becoming a cargo pilot. He knew the people in charge. They were good people. Smart people. If Commander He-Jin was in charge of the defense, then Earth was in good hands. On Earth Defense Station Olympus, He-Jin watched the Vethrian fleet. They had not moved. They had not attacked. They were waiting. Good. Let them wait. Let them think. Let them wonder what else humans were hiding. Because the truth was, the defense platforms were just the beginning. Earth had so much more. But He-Jin didn't want to show all her cards at once. Let the Vethrians wonder. Let them worry. The 24-hour countdown had begun. 23 hours and 42 minutes remaining. He-Jin smiled. She had been in worse situations. During the water wars, she had defended a city with only 200 soldiers against an army of thousands. She had held them off for 3 weeks until reinforcements arrived. She could handle some alien fish bugs. Across Earth, people watched the news. They saw the alien ships. They saw the defense platforms. They were worried, but not terrified. Humans had faced extinction before. Climate collapse, nuclear war, pandemic plagues, asteroid impacts. They always survived. They always adapted. This was just another challenge. And humans were very good at surviving challenges. Min Seo stood on the surface of Mars and looked at the sky. She could see Earth as a small blue dot in the distance. She knew what was happening there. Everyone on Mars knew. The alien fleet, the ultimatum, the 24-hour deadline. But Min Seo had work to do. She was the chief engineer of the Valles Marineris terraforming project. Her job was to turn Mars into a planet where humans could live without suits. It was slow work. Very slow. She had been doing it for 12 years, and Mars was only 40% terraformed. Minseo, are we continuing work today? Her assistant asked, through the radio. Of course, Minseo said. Why wouldn't we? Well, because of the aliens. The aliens are at Earth, not Mars. We have quotas to meet. The atmospheric processors need to run for 18 more hours today. Let's get to work. Her assistant was quiet for a moment, then said, Yes, ma'am. Minseo smiled inside her helmet. Work was work. Threats or no threats, Mars needed to be terraformed. 2 billion people lived on Mars now. They needed air. They needed water. They needed a future. The aliens could wait. On the Vethrian flagship, Krevnar was reading reports. His scout ships had been exploring the human solar system, gathering intelligence. What they found was disturbing. Mars was not a colony. It was a second Earth. 2 billion humans lived there, in massive cities, built into canyons and craters. The atmosphere was changing. Water was flowing. Forests were growing in sealed biomes. How long did this take them? Krevnar asked. According to our estimates, about 300 years, his intelligence officer said. 300 years. The Vethrians had terraformed planets before. It usually took 3,000 years. Humans did it 10 times faster. What else? Krevnar asked. The asteroid belt has been industrialized. We've counted over 4,000 manufacturing stations. They're producing everything from ship hulls to computer processors. The output is, Admiral, it's massive. They're producing more raw materials than the entire Vethrian collective. Krevnar felt a cold feeling in his stomach. What about the outer planets? Titan, the moon of Saturn, has fusion reactors powered by methane from the moon's surface. The energy output is incredible. Jupiter's moons are mining operations. Neptune's moons have research stations. Pluto has a military base. Krevnar stared at the report. Humans had not just colonized their solar system, they had transformed it. They had turned every rock, every moon, every planet into something useful. On Titan, J1 was supervising the construction of a new fusion reactor. The old one was working fine, but they needed more power. Titan's industrial complex was growing every year. More factories, more refineries, more workers. The news about the aliens had reached Titan hours ago. J1's workers had asked him if they should stop work. No, J1 had said. We stop when the construction is finished. Not before. So they kept working. The reactor was almost complete. Just a few more days. J1 believed in finishing what he started. His grandfather had taught him that. His grandfather had helped build the first Mars colony. Back then, people said it was impossible. Too hard. Too expensive. Too dangerous. But they did it anyway. Because that's what humans do. The Vethrian scout ships watched the construction. They recorded everything. They sent the data back to Krevnar. One of the scouts sent a message. Admiral, there's something strange. They know we're watching them. They've seen our ships. But they're not stopping. They're not hiding. They're just continuing to work. Krevnar didn't understand. When the Vethrians conquered a system, everything stopped. The conquered species waited in fear. They hid. They prepared for war or surrender. Humans just kept building. Back on Mars, Minseo was inside the atmospheric processor station. It was a massive machine, bigger than most buildings. It pulled carbon dioxide from the air and converted it into oxygen. Slowly, very slowly, Mars was becoming breathable. How's the output? Minseo asked one of her technicians. On target. We're at 23.7% oxygen content in the test zones, up from 23.4% last month. Minseo nodded. Good progress. At this rate, Mars would have breathable air in another 50 years. Her grandchildren might walk on Mars without helmets. She thought about Earth, about the aliens, about the deadline. She was worried, of course. Everyone was worried. But worry didn't terraform planets. Work did. Her communicator beeped. It was a message from Earth Defense Command. All personnel, be advised. Military situation is stable. Continue normal operations. Repeat. Continue normal operations. Mincio smiled. See? Everything was fine. Back to work. On the Vethrian flagship, a cultural analyst named Silvera was reviewing the data. She had studied 47 conquered species. She understood how species reacted to conquest. Fear, anger, submission, resistance. But humans were doing something else. They were ignoring the Vethrians. Not completely. Their military was clearly ready. But their civilians? They just kept working. Building. Creating. Silvera wrote a report. Admiral, I believe we have misunderstood humans. We assumed they would react like other species. They do not. They are builders first. Fighters, second. Even under threat of extinction, they continue to build. This is not normal behavior. Krevnar read the report. He felt disturbed. In all his years as a fleet admiral, he had never encountered a species like this. What does it mean? He asked Silvera. It means they don't think we can stop them. Silvera said quietly. They believe that even if we attack, they will survive. And they will rebuild. So why stop working? Krevnar was silent. He thought about the defense platforms around Earth, the industrial stations in the asteroid belt, the fusion reactors on Titan, the terraformed Mars. If he destroyed Earth, Mars would continue. If he destroyed Mars, Titan would continue. If he destroyed everything in the inner solar system, the outer colonies would continue. Humans had not built an empire. They had built a web, cut one strand, and the web remained. It would just repair itself. On Earth, Daesung was still waiting in the safe zone near Mars. He was bored. The military situation was apparently stable, whatever that meant. But civilians were still ordered to stay away from Earth. So he waited, and watched the news, and ate instant noodles. The news was showing footage of Mars, the terraforming projects, the cities, the farms. Daesung had been to Mars once. It was beautiful, in a rough, industrial way. Everything was red and rocky, but you could see the potential. In 100 years, Mars would be a garden, if the aliens didn't destroy it first. But Daesung didn't think they would. He had seen the defense platforms. He trusted Commander Heijin. And he knew something about humans that maybe the aliens didn't know. Humans didn't give up. Ever. Back on Mars, Min Sio's shift was ending. She had worked for 16 hours straight. The atmospheric processors were running smoothly. Tomorrow, they would start work on a new water distribution system. She took off her suit and went to her quarters. She lived in a small apartment in the underground city of New Seoul. It was cramped, but it was home. She checked the news. The deadline was in 12 hours. The aliens had not attacked. The military standoff continued. Mincio wondered what the aliens were thinking. Did they understand what they were looking at? Did they see Mars and understand what it meant? Mars was proof that humans could turn a dead rock into a living world. If Earth was destroyed, humans would rebuild. Maybe not this generation. Maybe not the next. But eventually, humans were patient. Humans were persistent. And humans really liked building things. On Titan, J1 finished his shift. The reactor was on schedule. 3 more days of work, and it would be operational. He went to the cafeteria and got dinner. Around him, workers were talking about the aliens. Some were scared. Some were angry. Some were making jokes. J1 ate quietly. He was thinking about his grandfather. The old man had told him stories about the early Mars colony. How hard it was. How many people died. How many times they almost gave up. Quote, "But they didn't give up. They built. And built. And built." That's what humans did best. The Vethrian fleet remained at the edge of Earth's orbit, watching, waiting. Krevnar was beginning to realize he had made a mistake. He had assumed humans were like the other 47 species. Weak, divided, easy to conquer. But humans were not weak. They had transformed their entire solar system in just 300 years. They had built cities on dead worlds. They had turned asteroids into factories, and they had done it all while recovering from their own self-inflicted near-extinction events. The intelligence reports mentioned those: wars, plagues, environmental collapse. Humans had almost destroyed themselves multiple times, but they survived. They adapted. They built. Always building. Krevnar looked at his countdown timer. 12 hours until the deadline. 12 hours to decide if attacking humanity was wise. For the first time in his career, Krevnar was not sure. Young-Hee woke up to the alarm. Her ship, the exploration vessel Magellan, had just received the emergency recall message from Earth. Return immediately. Alien threat. Military situation. She sat up in her bunk and rubbed her eyes. The ship was 50 light-years from Earth. They had been exploring a system with 3 potentially habitable planets. Now, they had to go home. "Captain wants everyone on the bridge," her roommate said. "We're jumping back to Earth." Young-Hee got dressed quickly. She was the medical officer on the Magellan. The ship had a crew of 43 people. They had been gone for 8 months, exploring the frontier. Now the frontier would have to wait. On the bridge, Captain Dong-Hyun was giving orders. Navigation. Plot a jump back to Earth. Engineering. Make sure the FTL drive is ready. Medical. Make sure everyone is prepared for the jump. We leave in 30 minutes. Young-Hee nodded. FTL jumps were hard on the body. Some people got sick. Some people got headaches. She would need to have medicine ready. The Magellan jumped. Space twisted around them, and suddenly they were moving faster than light. It would take 6 hours to reach Earth. On the Vethrian flagship, the sensors detected the jump signature. Another human ship had just appeared, coming from deep space. "Admiral, that's the 4th ship we've detected coming from outside the solar system," the sensor officer said. "They're all military or exploration vessels. They're all returning to Earth. Creator." Krevnar felt uneasy. How far away were they? The closest was 20 light-years. The furthest was 80 light-years. 80 light-years. Humans had ships 80 light-years from home, and they could recall them in hours. "Do we have FTL capability like that?" Krevnar asked quietly. "No, sir. Our drives take 3 days to cross 80 light-years. Theirs take, maybe, 8 hours." Krevnar said nothing. The intelligence reports had not mentioned this. Humans had faster FTL drives than the Vethrians. Much faster. What else hadn't the reports mentioned? On Europa, deep below the ice, Taemin was working in the underwater research base. Europa was a moon of Jupiter, covered in ice. But under the ice was an ocean, a massive ocean, bigger than all of Earth's oceans combined. And in that ocean was life. Taemin was a marine biologist. He studied the strange creatures that lived in Europa's dark waters. They were like nothing on Earth. They had no eyes. They glowed with bioluminescence. They ate chemicals from volcanic vents. They were beautiful. Taemin was wearing a special suit that let him survive in the crushing pressure of Europa's ocean. The pressure was so intense, it would kill a normal human instantly. But Taemin's suit and his modified body could handle it. He had undergone surgery 3 years ago. His bones were reinforced with carbon fiber. His blood had artificial oxygen carriers. His organs were protected by synthetic membranes. It had been expensive and painful, but it let him work in places no normal human could go. "Taemin, are you seeing the news?" his colleague asked through the radio. "No, I'm kind of busy," Taemin said. He was collecting samples from a volcanic vent. "There are aliens at Earth. They're threatening to attack." Taemin paused. "Really? That's interesting. Are we evacuating?" "No." Command says, "Continue normal operations." "Okay then." Taemin went back to his work. His colleague was quiet for a moment. "You're not worried? I'm 1,000 meters under ice on a moon of Jupiter. If aliens attack Earth, I'll probably be fine." Taemin smiled. "Besides, we just discovered a new species last week. I need to document it." On the Vethrian medical ship, xenobiologist Silvera was reviewing human biological data. She had obtained samples from various sources: medical records, genetic databases, research papers. What she found horrified her. Humans were modifying themselves, not slowly through natural evolution, quickly through technology and surgery. Some humans had enhanced bone density for working in high gravity. Some had improved radiation resistance for space travel. Some had modified cardiovascular systems for low oxygen environments. And some, like Taemin, had been modified to survive in crushing pressures and extreme cold. Silvera wrote a report. "Admiral, humans are not waiting for evolution. They are directing their own adaptation. They are changing their bodies to survive in environments that would kill any natural organism. This is unprecedented." 2. Krevnar read the report. He felt sick. The Vethrians had evolved over millions of years to survive on their homeworld. They could not change that. If they went to a planet with different gravity or atmosphere, they needed protective suits, always. But humans? Humans just changed themselves to fit the environment. "How widespread is this?" Krevnar asked. "According to the data, about 30% of humans living off Earth have some form of genetic or surgical modification, and the percentage is growing every year. 30%. That was billions of people." Krevnar thought about the colonies he had seen. Mars, Titan, Europa, stations in the asteroid belt, bases on the moons of Neptune. Humans lived in all these places. They had adapted to all these places. They had become part of these places. If the Vethrians attacked, where would they attack? Earth? Mars? Titan? All of it? And even if they destroyed every habitat, would it matter? Humans would just rebuild. They would adapt. They would survive. Young He's ship arrived at Earth. The Magellan dropped out of FTL near the defense perimeter. Around them were dozens of other ships. Military vessels, civilian ships, exploration vessels like theirs, all coming home. "Medical officer, report to the captain," the intercom said. Young He went to the bridge. Captain Dong-hyun was talking to Earth Defense Command. "Sir, you wanted to see me?" Young He asked. "Yes. Command wants a report on the crew's condition." "Are we ready for combat if needed?" Young He thought about it. "The crew is healthy. We have 3 people with minor injuries from the exploration mission. Nothing serious. If we need to fight, we can." "Good. Stand by." Young He stood at her station and looked at the view screen. She could see Earth. Beautiful blue Earth. Her home. She could also see the alien fleet. Dark shapes against the stars, threatening her world. Young He had been in the military before joining the exploration service. She had fought in the Titan Rebellion of 2339. She knew how to handle weapons. She knew how to treat combat injuries. If the aliens attacked, she was ready. On the Vethrian flagship, Silvera was presenting her findings to Krevnar and the senior officers. "Humans have colonized environments that would kill us in minutes," she said. "The underwater base on Europa operates at pressures that would crush our ships. The surface stations on Venus operate at temperatures that would melt our armor. The deep space habitats near the edge of the solar system have radiation levels that would be fatal. She showed images. Humans working in impossible places. Smiling. Building. Living. They don't conquer nature, Silvera said quietly. They become part of it. They adapt to it. They change themselves to fit it. One of the officers spoke up. But surely this makes them weaker? Divided? If they're all adapted to different environments, they can't work together. Silvera shook her head. That's what I thought too. But the evidence shows the opposite. Their modifications make them stronger. A crew can include people adapted for different tasks. One person can survive in vacuum. Another can survive underwater. Another can survive high radiation. They work together better because of their differences. Not worse. The room was silent. Krevnar stood up. So you're telling me that humans are more adaptable than any species we've ever encountered? They can live anywhere. They can survive anything. And they're still getting stronger. Yes, Admiral, that's exactly what I'm saying. Krevnar walked to the window and looked at Earth. Small, blue planet. Beautiful. Fragile looking, but not fragile at all. Taemin finished collecting his samples and returned to the underwater base. He took off his pressure suit and uploaded his data to the research network. His colleague was waiting for him. Did you hear the latest news? No, what? The aliens have been scanning our colonies. They're learning about us. Taemin shrugged. What's there to learn? We're humans. We live places. We do science. We build things. Aren't you worried they might attack? Taemin thought about it. I guess I am, a little. But worrying won't help. We should keep doing our work. If we die, we die. But at least we'll die doing something useful. His colleague looked at him strangely. That's a very calm attitude about possible extinction. Taemin smiled. Humans have almost gone extinct before. We survived. We'll survive this too. Probably. Young-hee was in the medical bay, preparing supplies. If there was a battle, there would be injuries. She needed to be ready. She thought about her modifications. She had enhanced radiation resistance and improved bone density. Standard for exploration crew members. It let her work in high radiation environments without getting sick. Some people thought modifications were wrong, playing with nature. Dangerous. But Young-hee disagreed. Humans had always modified themselves. Glasses for bad eyes. Pacemakers for bad hearts. Prosthetic limbs for lost limbs. Genetic modification was just the next step. Making humans stronger, better adapted, more capable, and if it meant humans could explore the galaxy, could live on 1,000 worlds, could survive anything, then it was worth it. The deadline was in 6 hours. The Vethrian fleet had not moved, had not attacked, had not left. They were learning, watching, understanding. Krevnar sat in his command chair and read report after report. Each one made him more uneasy. Humans were not what he expected. They were adaptable, resilient, resourceful, persistent, and they were everywhere. From the underwater oceans of Europa to the surface of Venus, from the asteroid belt to the edge of the solar system and beyond. You couldn't conquer humans by attacking one planet. They were too spread out, too diverse, too adaptive. Cut off one limb, and they would grow another. Destroy one colony, and they would build 2 more. For the first time in his military career, Krevnar wondered if this conquest was possible. Sang-woo adjusted his tie and looked at himself in the mirror. He was about to participate in the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. No pressure. He was a historian and diplomat. He had spent 20 years studying human conflict and resolution. He had mediated disputes between Earth and Mars. He had negotiated trade agreements between Titan and Europa. He had helped prevent 3 wars. Now he had to prevent an interstellar war. You ready? Ji-won asked. She was standing by the door, checking her tablet. Ji-won was a cultural attaché. Her job was to help aliens understand human culture, which was a very big job, considering how complicated human culture was. As ready as I'll be, Sang-woo said. Do we have the presentation ready? Yes, all loaded up. Sang-woo nodded. If we're going to negotiate, we need to be honest. They need to understand who we are. Really are. Not just our weapons or our colonies. They need to understand our history. Even the bad parts? Especially the bad parts. They walked to the conference room on Earth Defense Station, Olympus. Commander Hee-jin was waiting there, along with several military officers and scientists. On the view screen, Admiral Krevnar appeared. He looked tired. Behind him were several other Vethrian officers and advisors. Shall we begin? Sang-woo asked. Krevnar nodded. Humans, we have been observing your civilization. We have questions. Many questions. And we have answers, Sang-woo said. But first, let me tell you a story. The story of humanity. He activated the presentation. Images appeared on the screen. This is Earth, 200,000 years ago. This is where humans evolved. We were just animals then. Hunting, gathering, surviving. More images, cave paintings, stone tools, fire. We learned to make tools, to use fire, to work together. We spread across our planet. We adapted to every environment. Deserts, jungles, mountains, tundra. We lived everywhere. Krevnar watched silently. And then, we learned to fight, Sang-woo said. His voice became quieter. We fought each other. Tribe against tribe. Kingdom against kingdom. Nation against nation. We fought for land, for resources, for ideas, for pride. Images of ancient battles, medieval wars, colonial conquests. We got better at fighting. Much better. We invented guns, bombs, chemical weapons. The images changed. World War I. Trenches. Gas attacks. Millions dead. This was the First World War. 20 million people died. We thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen. Ji-won spoke up. But then came the Second World War. Even worse. Even more people dead. And at the end of it, we invented nuclear weapons. The screen showed Hiroshima, the mushroom cloud, the destruction. The Vethrian officers looked shocked. Some looked away. That was one bomb, Sang-woo said quietly. One bomb that killed 100,000 people in seconds. We built thousands of these bombs. We pointed them at each other. We almost used them. Why didn't you? One of the Vethrian officers asked. Because we realized that if we did, we would all die. So we chose not to. We chose restraint. The presentation continued. Images of the Cold War, nuclear submarines, missile silos. For 50 years, we lived with the threat of total extinction. Any day, any moment, someone could push a button and end the world. But we didn't. We chose to live instead. More images. Climate change, rising seas, drought, famine. Then we almost destroyed ourselves again. Not with weapons this time. With pollution. With waste. With greed. We changed our planet's climate. We killed millions of species. We made parts of Earth unlivable. Images of flooded cities. Burning forests. Refugees fleeing disaster zones. This was the climate crisis. It lasted 100 years. 3 billion people died. Entire nations disappeared underwater. We thought civilization would collapse, but it didn't, Ji-won said. We adapted. We changed. We learned. We built new technologies. We made hard choices. We saved what we could. Images of renewable energy. Orbital solar panels. Carbon capture machines. We survived. Again. Sang-woo showed more images. The water wars. The Pandemic of 2000. 157. The Titan Rebellion. We kept making mistakes, kept fighting, kept hurting ourselves, but we also kept learning, kept improving, kept choosing to survive. Compretus. He stopped the presentation. The final image was a memorial wall. Names. Millions and millions of names. This is the memorial wall on Earth. It has the names of 4 billion people. Everyone who died in our wars, our disasters, our mistakes. We built this wall so we would never forget. Never forget what we're capable of. Never forget the cost of our choices. The room was silent. Krevnar spoke slowly. You're showing us your weaknesses. Why? Sang-Woo looked at him directly. Because they're not weaknesses. They're lessons. We know what war costs. We know what destruction means. We've done it to ourselves. That's why we choose restraint now. That's why we didn't fire first. Not because we're weak, because we know the price. Ji-won added. When you arrived and threatened us, do you know what our first thought was? It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was sadness. Sadness that another species was making the same mistakes we made. Choosing violence first. Choosing threats first. We don't want to fight you, Sang-Woo said. But we will, if we must. Because we've learned another lesson too. Sometimes survival requires fighting. Sometimes there's no other choice. He showed another image. Earth defense platforms, Marines in training, weapons, stockpiles. We have weapons we've built but never used. Antimatter warheads, kinetic bombardment systems, biological warfare agents. We keep them in storage. We keep them as a reminder. A reminder that we could destroy ourselves anytime we choose. And we choose not to. Krevnar looked uncomfortable. You're saying you have weapons that could destroy us? We're saying we have weapons that could destroy anyone, including ourselves. And we don't use them because we understand the consequences. We've lived through those consequences. Sang-Woo leaned forward. Admiral Krevnar, you gave us a 24-hour ultimatum. Surrender or be destroyed. Do you know why we weren't afraid? Why? Because we've faced our own apocalypse countdowns before. Nuclear war. Climate collapse. Asteroid impacts. We've counted down to extinction a dozen times. And every time, we chose to survive. Your 24 hours didn't scare us. It just seemed familiar. Ji-won pulled up more images. Cities being rebuilt after disasters. Forests regrowing after fires. Humans helping each other. Working together. This is what humans do best, she said. We recover. We rebuild. We move forward. You can destroy Earth, and we will rebuild on Mars. You can destroy Mars, and we will rebuild on Titan. You can destroy our entire solar system, and we will rebuild in the colonies we've established 50 light-years away. You can kill us, Sang-Woo said quietly. But you can't stop us, because we've been trying to stop ourselves for thousands of years, and we haven't succeeded yet. The room was very quiet. One of the Vethrian advisors spoke up. You're very confident for a species facing extinction. Sang-Woo smiled sadly. We're not confident. We're realistic. We know what war means. We know people will die. Maybe billions of people. Maybe our entire civilization. But some of us will survive. Some of us always survive. And those survivors will remember. Will rebuild. Will come back. Is that a threat? Krevnar asked. No. It's a promise. A promise that humans will survive. We always have. We always will. Ji-won added. But it's also an invitation. You came here to conquer us, to add us to your empire, to make us part of your collective. But why? What do you gain? Ji-won. Resources, territory, workers, one of the Vethrian officers said. You can have all that without conquest, Sang-Woo said. We can trade resources. We can share territory. We can work together, not as masters and subjects, as partners. Krevnar looked skeptical. The Vethrian Collective doesn't do partnerships. We have conquered 47 systems. All of them are part of our hierarchy. And how's that working out? G1 asked. Do the conquered species work hard for you? Do they innovate? Do they create? Or do they just do the minimum required to survive? Krevnar was silent. She was right. The conquered species did the minimum. They had no motivation to excel, no reason to innovate. Sangwoo continued. Humans work best when we're free, when we have a purpose, when we're building something we believe in. You can conquer us, but you'll never get the best from us. You'll just get resentment and resistance. But if you work with us, G1 said, if you treat us as equals, as partners, then you'll get everything we're capable of. Our technology, our creativity, our resilience, our crazy human drive to build and explore and survive. Sangwoo showed one final image. Earth and a Vethrian planet, side by side. Between them, a space station. Humans and Vethrians, working together. This is what we're offering. Not surrender, not war. Partnership, cooperation, mutual benefit. We learn from you. You learn from us. We build together. We explore together. We survive together. He looked at Krevnar. You came here expecting warriors or prey. We're neither. We're survivors. We're builders. And we're offering you something better than conquest. We're offering you friends. Krevnar stared at the image. A human and a Vethrian, working side by side. It was not what he expected. None of this was what he expected. He had conquered 47 systems. All of them fought or surrendered. None of them offered friendship. What would his superiors say? What would the collective think? But more importantly, what did he think? He looked at the memorial wall image again. 4 billion names. 4 billion people dead from human mistakes. Humans knew the cost of war better than anyone. The deadline was in 1 hour. The entire solar system was watching. Waiting. On his cargo ship, Daesung was still parked in the safe zone near Mars. He had been there for 23 hours now. Eating instant noodles. Watching the news. Waiting to see if he would die today. He wasn't particularly scared anymore. Fear gets tiring after a while. Now, he was just impatient. Whatever was going to happen, he wanted it to happen already. His communicator beeped. It was a general broadcast. From Earth. The channel was open to everyone. Civilians. Military. Even the aliens. Daesung was confused. Why would Earth broadcast to everyone? Then he saw who was speaking. It wasn't Commander Heijin. It wasn't the president. It wasn't some admiral or general. It was just a guy. A regular guy in a cargo ship uniform. Wait. That was him. Daesung's hands shook. What? Why am I on broadcast? Then he understood. Earth Defense Command had asked for volunteers to speak. To say something to the aliens. From regular people, not soldiers or politicians. Daesung had volunteered as a joke. He didn't think they would actually choose him, but here he was. His face on every screen in the solar system. Hello, Daesung said. He felt stupid. What was he supposed to say? My name is Daesung. I'm a cargo hauler. I transport mining equipment between Earth and Luna. It's boring work, but it pays okay. He paused. Thousands of people were listening. Millions. Maybe billions. And the aliens, too. I guess you aliens are wondering what humans are like. So I'll tell you. We're just people. We get up. We go to work. We come home. We eat dinner. We watch TV. We talk to our families. We live our lives. He looked out his window at the stars. We're not heroes. We're not warriors. Most of us just want to do our jobs and go home. I've been hauling cargo for 7 years. In that time, I've never fired a weapon. never fought anyone, never wanted to. But you showed up and threatened my planet, my home. And now I'm sitting in a ship near Mars, waiting to see if I'm going to die today. Because of you." His voice got harder. "You want to know what I think? I think you made a mistake. Not because we have big guns or strong ships, but because you don't understand us." Klam. Dae-sung pointed at Earth, visible in the distance. "That planet down there? We've almost destroyed it a dozen times. War, pollution, stupidity. We came so close to extinction, so many times. Because we don't quit. Ever. You can knock us down. You can burn our cities. You can destroy our colonies. But we'll get back up. We'll rebuild. We'll keep going." He leaned closer to the camera. "You think you're going to conquer us? Fine. Try. You might even win. But then what? We'll rebuild. Maybe it takes 10 years. Maybe 100. Maybe 1,000. But we'll come back. We always come back. So here's what I'm saying. You can attack. You can kill millions of us. Maybe billions. But you can't stop us. You can't make us quit. You can only make us angry." Dae-sung sat back. "Or, you can leave us alone. Better yet, you can work with us. We can trade. We can share technology. We can learn from each other. We don't have to be enemies. I'm just a cargo hauler. I'm nobody important. But I know this. Humans want to live. We want to build. We want to explore. We want to create. If you let us do that, we'll be the best neighbors you ever had. But if you try to stop us, we'll be your worst nightmare." He paused. Then added, "Also, I really want to go back to work. I have a shipment of mining equipment that's supposed to be delivered to Luna Station 3. It's already a day late. My boss is going to be angry." He smiled slightly. "So please, can we figure this out? I have quotas to meet." The broadcast ended. On the Vethrian flagship, Krevnar had watched the whole thing. A simple cargo hauler, speaking for all of humanity. Not a warrior. Not a diplomat. Just a regular person doing a regular job, who happened to be threatened with extinction, and responded with, "I have quotas to meet." Krevnar found himself laughing. It was absurd, but also profound. Humans really didn't stop working. Ever. His communication officer spoke up. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from Earth Defense Command. Put it through." Commander Heijin appeared on the screen. "Admiral Krevnar, the deadline is in 45 minutes. Before it expires, I want to show you something." The screen changed. It showed a map of Earth's defense systems. Hundreds of platforms. Thousands of weapons. Energy readings that made the Vethrian sensors overload. "This is what you'll face if you attack," Heijin said. "But I want you to understand something. This is just Earth. Just one planet. This." The map expanded. Mars, Titan, Europa, the asteroid belt, deep space stations. Every colony has defenses. Every station has weapons. Every ship can fight. You're not facing one planet. You're facing an entire solar system. Billions of humans. Trillions of tons of industrial capacity. Centuries of technological advancement. The map expanded further. Stars. Distant colonies. Ships in deep space. And beyond our solar system, we have colonies you haven't found yet. We have ships you haven't seen. We have resources you can't imagine. Destroy Earth, and the rest continues. Destroy our solar system, and our distant colonies continue. Heijin's face reappeared. "We're not bluffing. We're not exaggerating. We're showing you the truth. You can't win this war. Even if you destroy everything you can see, we'll survive somewhere. And we'll come back." She paused. "But we don't want war. We've had enough war. We've killed enough of our own people. We don't want to kill yours too. So here's our offer. Leave. Go home. Think about what you've learned here. Think about whether conquest is really what you want. Or, stay. Not as conquerors. As guests. As potential partners. We can talk. We can trade. We can learn. We can be friends. The choice is yours. But choose quickly. Your deadline is in 43 minutes. The screen went dark. Krevnar sat in his command chair. His officers were looking at him, waiting for orders. One of his tactical officers spoke up. "Admiral, we should attack. Show them we're serious." "No," another officer said. "We should withdraw. This is too risky." Arguments broke out. Some wanted war. Some wanted retreat. The Vethrian command was divided. Krefnar raised his hand. Everyone went quiet. "I have conquered 47 systems," Krevnar said quietly. "I have faced 47 species. Some fought. Some surrendered. All of them became part of the collective." He stood up. "But I have never faced a species like this. They're not warriors. They're not prey. They're survivors, builders, adapters, and they're offering us something none of the other 47 ever offered. They're offering us a choice." He walked to the window and looked at Earth. Beautiful blue planet. Full of complicated, stubborn, creative humans. "I'm going to do something I've never done before," Krevnar said. "I'm going to say no to conquest." The room erupted. Officers shouting. Some agreeing. Some angry. Some calling him a coward. Krevnar let them shout. Then he raised his hand again. "Listen to me. We can conquer these humans. Maybe, if we're willing to lose half our fleet. If we're willing to spend decades hunting down every colony. If we're willing to fight an enemy that will never surrender. Or, we can do something different. Something the collective has never done. We can make allies instead of subjects." One of the hardline officers stood up. "This is treason. You're disobeying the collective's orders." "Yes," Krevnar said calmly. "I am. And when we return home, I will explain why. The collective can court-martial me if they want. But I believe this is the right choice." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we accept their offer. We want to talk, not as conquerors and conquered, as equals." The hardline officers were furious. Some walked out. Some continued shouting. But the message was sent. On Earth Defense Station Olympus, Commander Heejin received the message. She read it twice to make sure she understood. Then she smiled. They said yes. The command center erupted in cheers. People hugging, crying, laughing. Sang Woo and Ji-1 were there. They had been waiting for the response. "We did it," Ji-1 said. "We actually did it." "We did," Sang-woo said. He felt exhausted, but also relieved and hopeful. Hyjin sent a response. "Admiral Krevnar, we accept your acceptance. Let's begin talks immediately. We have a lot to discuss." Dae-sung was still in his cargo ship when he heard the news. The aliens had agreed to negotiate. No war, no attack. Just talking. He let out a long breath he didn't know he was holding. "Finally," he said. "Can I go back to work now?" He checked his messages. Yes. He was cleared to return to his route. Luna Station 3 was still waiting for their mining equipment. Dae-sung started his engines and headed toward Luna. Back to work. Back to normal. Back to his boring, peaceful cargo hauling. It was the best feeling in the world. 3 months later, Sang-woo stood at the window of a new space station. It was called Unity Station, built by humans and Vethrians working together. The first joint project. It hadn't been easy. The negotiations had been long, complicated, sometimes angry. But they had worked through it. The Vethrians agreed to withdraw from Earth's space. No conquest. No occupation. Instead, They proposed a non-hierarchical alliance. Partners, not masters and subjects. It was something the collective had never done before. Some Vethrians were angry about it. Some thought Krevnar was a traitor. But some thought he was a visionary. Admiral Krevnar walked up beside Sangwoo. He looked different now. More relaxed, less rigid. Strange, isn't it? Krevnar said. 3 months ago, I was planning to conquer you. Now we're building a research station together. Sangwoo smiled. Humans are good at making friends out of enemies. We've had a lot of practice. I'm still not sure this will work, Krevnar said. The collective is changing its entire philosophy because of you. Thousands of years of tradition. Being questioned. Change is hard, Sangwoo agreed. But necessary. You said it yourself. The old way wasn't working. The conquered species weren't happy. They weren't productive. They were just surviving. But partnership? That's different. That's everyone working together because they want to, not because they have to. Krevnar watched the construction. Humans and Vethrians, working side by side, sharing tools, sharing knowledge, laughing together. You know what I realized? Krevnar said. We came here, expecting warriors or prey. We found neither. We found builders who remember the cost of war. Sangwoo nodded. We remember. We always remember. That's why we choose peace when we can. But also, why we're prepared for war when we must. You're very complicated beings, Krevnar said. Yes. Yes, we are. They stood there together, watching the station being built. Humans and Vethrians. Working together. Building something new. Far away, on a cargo ship between Earth and Luna, Dae Sung hauled his mining equipment. His work was boring. His ship was old. His coffee was bad, but he was alive. Earth was safe. And he was meeting his quotas. What more could a man ask for? He looked at the stars and smiled. Humans had survived again. They had adapted again. They had built again. And they would keep building, keep adapting, keep surviving. Because that's what humans did. That's what humans had always done. That's what humans would always do. The humans they never anticipated were just humans being human. Stubborn, creative, resilient, building, always building, and now, building together with new friends. The galaxy would never be the same.